You know, fellas, we got a little trick, a little test we use. And ladies, most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. It's not a test with a Scantron or a number 2 pencil. It's not in a classroom. It's out here in real life. And here's the truth, most women fail it. And it ain't because you're not smart, not because you're not capable. It's because you get caught up in the moment and forget the bigger picture. See, men don't come right out with this test. We don't announce it. We don't tell you when it's starting. We don't even grade it out loud. We just sit back, observe, and take notes in silence. And if you fail, we don't say, oh, she failed. No, we just adjust how we deal with you, quietly, smoothly. You'll never even know what happened. Now, let me tell you what the test really is. Men want to know, can you say no? That's it. That's the test. Can you stand firm on your standards, your values, what you believe in? Can you hold your ground when the pressure's on? Because here's what men know: if you can't say no to me, you probably can't say no to anybody else either. And if you can't say no, that means you'll accept less, tolerate nonsense, and lower your worth just to keep somebody around. Ladies, I'm going to be honest with you. The way you answer that question, that invisible test, determines everything. It determines whether a man takes you seriously, whether he sees you as temporary or forever, whether he puts in effort or just hangs around until he's bored. Now, I can already hear somebody saying, but why does a man need to test me in the first place? Because men are natural hunters. It's in our DNA. We are always looking, always watching, always trying to figure out what's real and what's fake. And here's the part you got to understand: men respect boundaries. We may not like them at first, but we respect them. A man will push just to see if there's a line. And when you put that line down and say, no, not today, not me, not like that, a real man hears that. He might grunt, he might roll his eyes, but inside, he's saying, okay, she's different. But here's the problem. Too many women fail the test because you're scared of losing somebody who was never yours to begin with. You confuse attention with intention. You confuse I like you with I'll respect you. You confuse fun with future. And when that happens, you give passes you shouldn't give. You let stuff slide that you know you don't want. And you think being agreeable is the same as being loved. Let me break this down. Imagine a man asked you for something that goes against what you said you want. Maybe you told him you're not rushing into anything physical, and here he comes at midnight with that, what you doing, text. That's the test, right there, that little moment. If you stick to your standard, you pass. If you fold, he takes note. He's not mad. Oh, no, he's happy. But in his head, he just put you in a different category. And once you're in that category, it's hard to climb out. Here's another example. Let's say you told a man you want commitment, but he says, let's just see where it goes. And you agree, even though deep down you want more. That's the test. He's looking to see if your words line up with your actions, because men don't listen to what you say. We watch what you do. And if what you do don't match what you said, test failed. Now, let me tell you why this is important. Men don't invest in what's easy. We invest in what we respect. If you pass the test, if you stand strong in who you are, a man either steps up or steps out. And honestly, you should want that. If he steps up, you know he's serious. If he steps out, you know he wasn't meant for you anyway. Either way, you win. But when you fail the test, when you give a man everything without requiring anything, when you accept less than you deserve, you don't just lose him, you lose yourself. You wake up one day wondering, how did I get here? Why doesn't he see me the way I want to be seen? And the answer is simple: he already saw you. He just saw you in the category you allowed him to place you in. Ladies, you got to understand something about men. We don't say much, but we notice everything. That little hesitation when you almost said no but gave in, noted. That boundary you bent after a little sweet talk, noted. That promise you made to yourself that you broke just to keep him close, noted. Men may not bring it up, but trust me, it's written down in the back of his mind, and it shapes the way he treats you moving forward. So what's the solution? Stop being afraid of the word no. No is not a rejection of him. It's a protection of you. No keeps you safe. No keeps you respected. No sets the standard for how people handle you. And the right man, the man who's really for you, he ain't going nowhere because of a no. He'll adjust. He'll step up. He'll prove himself. Because here's the truth, men don't marry the most beautiful woman, the most fun woman, or even the most available woman. Men marry the woman they respect, and respect is earned when you pass the test. When it comes to relationships, there's something subtle that most women don't even realize is happening, but men are always quietly paying attention to. It's not a conversation that gets announced. It's not a sit-down meeting, and it's not something he'll openly admit to testing you on. It's silent, it's almost invisible, but it's there. The truth is, men are watching for one thing above all else. Can you say no? That's the real test. It sounds simple, it sounds easy, but when you're caught up in the excitement of meeting someone, when you like how he makes you feel, when the charm and the attention are pouring in, it becomes one of the hardest things in the world to do. Men will put you in situations where you are faced with this exact choice, not necessarily to trap you, but to find out who you really are and how strong you really stand in your values. Think about how life works for men. Men push, men pursue, men chase. It's a natural instinct. And with that instinct comes the desire to know how much room they have, how far they can go, and whether you will draw a line that can't be crossed. If you don't, the test is failed without you ever realizing it. But when you say no, when you stand your ground with certainty, something shifts in a man's mind. He may not smile at it. He may even act frustrated in the moment. But deep down, he respects it. Because men don't ultimately value what comes too easily. They value what requires them to grow, to step up, to prove themselves worthy. The ability to say no is more than just a word. It's a reflection of your standards. It's a signal that you know who you are, that you're not willing to trade your dignity for temporary attention, and that you're serious about what you want. Men watch this very closely. They might test it early in small ways, like asking you to do something you already said you weren't comfortable with, just to see if your actions line up with your words. They might send that late night text to check whether you meant it when you said you value real dating. They might casually suggest something you don't agree with, just to see if you'll compromise for the sake of keeping them happy. And the way you respond determines the category you'll be placed in. Most women fail this test because they think saying no will scare a man away. They believe if they set a boundary, he won't stick around, so they bend their rules to keep his attention. What they don't realize is that the exact opposite is true. The man who walks away because you said no was never the man meant to stay. The one who respects your no, who adjusts his behavior to honor it, is the one who saw value in you beyond convenience. Men don't leave women because of the word no. They leave when there are no boundaries, because nothing that comes without resistance holds deep value. This test is not about being confrontational or difficult. It's about demonstrating self-respect. When you say no, you're not rejecting the man. You're affirming yourself. You're communicating that you are not negotiable when it comes to your standards. You're making it clear that your value is not up for discussion. That firmness is what draws the right man closer, because it tells him he can trust you to stand tall in any situation. And trust is the foundation of commitment. Every man, whether consciously or subconsciously, looks for this strength in a woman. A man may be attracted to beauty, to charm, to fun energy, but when he's thinking about who he'll truly invest in, he's searching for the woman who will not bend just to please him. The woman who has a clear sense of self, who can look him in the eye and say no when something doesn't align with her values, is the woman who captures lasting respect. Without that, everything else eventually fades. The quiet test of no is not just about physical boundaries, though that is often where it starts. It also shows up in emotional boundaries, financial boundaries, lifestyle choices, and future goals. A man may suggest something that doesn't fit with the vision you have for yourself, and in that moment you're faced with the choice: do I hold my ground or do I compromise to keep him close? Every compromise against your core values chips away at his respect, and every firm no builds it. The hardest part is that the test doesn't come with a warning. You won't know when he's testing you because it's not an official exam. It's small moments, fleeting opportunities, casual remarks. But men take note of them. They observe quietly and decide, often without saying a word, whether you are someone to take seriously or someone to enjoy temporarily. That decision hinges less on how fun, beautiful, or available you are, and more on whether you can stand firm when it matters. The irony is that women often think they are keeping a man by saying yes to everything, when in reality they are losing his long-term interest by doing exactly that. A yes that costs you yourself. Respect is a yes that lowers your value in his eyes. A no, on the other hand, may frustrate him in the short term, but it builds a foundation of respect that keeps him around for the long term. Men may not admit it, but they want to know where the line is. They want to know if you are someone who can protect your worth, because a man knows deep down that if you don't protect yourself, you won't protect the relationship either. If you can't say no to him, you can't be trusted to say no to the world around you, to distractions, to temptation, to anything that could threaten the bond you're building. That is why the test of no is the most important one a woman will ever face in a man's eyes. When it comes to relationships, one of the most overlooked truths is that boundaries earn respect, and giving in too easily loses it. People sometimes misunderstand the power of boundaries. thinking they are restrictions or limitations, when in reality, they are the very foundation that determines how you will be treated. A man will test where your lines are and whether you hold them. It's not because he's evil or trying to manipulate. It's simply part of how men operate. They push forward to see how far they can go, and once they know, they adjust their behavior accordingly. If you have no boundaries, if you bend every time just to keep him happy, you don't win him over. You lose his respect without him even saying a word about it. Respect is not born from agreement or from always saying yes. Respect is born from having the courage to stand firm when it matters. Think of boundaries as the invisible fence around your self-worth. They let a man know what you will accept and what you will not. Without that fence, everything is up for grabs, and when everything is up for grabs, nothing is treasured. The truth is, most men won't say, I don't respect you because you gave in too easily. They won't phrase it that way. What happens instead is much quieter. His effort begins to fade. His pursuit becomes weaker. He starts to treat you as an option rather than a priority. Why? Because subconsciously he has decided that if you don't protect your own value, he doesn't need to either. Boundary would show him that you take yourself seriously. And when you take yourself seriously, he has no choice but to do the same. Now, giving in too easily doesn't always mean physical things. It shows up in every area of the relationship. If you said you want consistency, but allow him to disappear for days and come back without explanation, you've just taught him that your boundary has no weight. If you said you want honesty, but you let him slide with half-truths and excuses, you've just shown him that he can live in the gray with you. If you said you want a future, but you're willing to settle for, we'll see where this goes, you've just revealed that you don't enforce the standard you set. And in every one of those situations, the same thing happens. His respect slips, even if his words don't change. Boundaries don't push a good man away. Boundaries filter the wrong men out and pull the right ones in closer. A man who is serious about you will see your boundaries not as obstacles, but as proof that you are worth pursuing. He may be frustrated in the moment, he may grumble, he may even test them again just to be sure they're real, but he won't walk away. In fact, the very act of you holding those boundaries makes him invest more. It challenges him, and men are wired to rise to challenges. Without boundaries, though, there is no challenge. There's no need for him to step up because everything is already available without cost. Respect and desire are not the same. A man can desire someone he doesn't respect. He can be attracted, entertained, and even charmed, but without respect, he will never invest long term. Respect comes when a man realizes he cannot simply walk into your life and take what he wants without giving what is required. That realization happens only when you stand by your boundaries. When you don't, you might hold his attention for a season, but you'll never hold his commitment. People often confuse boundaries with ultimatums, but they are not the same. An ultimatum is designed to control another person's behavior. A boundary is about protecting your own. A boundary says, this is how I live, this is what I accept, this is who I am. And men recognize the difference immediately. A woman with clear boundaries is not trying to control him. She is simply making it clear what she will and will not participate in. That level of clarity is attractive to a man who is serious because it tells him you won't compromise your integrity for the sake of keeping someone around. When you give in too easily, it may feel like you're avoiding conflict, but what you're really doing is teaching him to take you lightly. You're teaching him that your words don't carry weight, that your needs can be brushed aside, and that your presence doesn't require effort. Over time, that pattern kills respect, and when respect dies, the relationship follows soon after. A man may stick around physically, but emotionally and mentally, he's already gone because there is no longer any standard keeping him anchored. Every man knows deep down that boundaries are what separates someone temporary from someone lasting. A man might date someone without boundaries, but he doesn't build a life with her. He doesn't bring her into the deepest parts of his world. He doesn't elevate her in his future. He saves that for the woman who has shown him through action that she requires respect because she respects herself. That respect is earned every time she chooses her boundary over temporary approval. The beauty of boundaries is that they create safety on both sides. They tell a man that you are not afraid to protect yourself, and that security allows him to trust you. A man who respects a woman with boundaries feels safer being vulnerable because he knows she won't compromise herself just to please him. That kind of trust builds connection, and connection builds love. Without it, everything remains shallow. When a woman holds firm to her boundaries, she is not being cold, harsh, or difficult. She is simply saying, I value myself enough to make sure you do too. And the man who is meant for her, the one who sees her worth, will not only respect those boundaries, he will rise to meet them. Men have a way of watching actions more closely than words, and that's one of the biggest things that gets overlooked in relationships. You can say anything you want, you can make promises, you can outline exactly what you expect, but at the end of the day, what you actually do is what he's paying attention to. Men are not as verbal or expressive as women might be, but they are highly observant, and they don't forget the little things. A man can hear you say that you value respect, loyalty, or patience, but if your actions show something different, he files that away quietly. It doesn't always come up in conversation, but it changes how he views you and how he treats you from that point on. The truth is that words are easy. Anyone can say what sounds right in the moment. Anyone can speak about standards and values, but it's the consistency of behavior that reveals who you really are. Men know this. They know that promises can be made in the heat of emotion, that declarations can be influenced by attraction, and that words can be used to impress. So, instead of focusing on what's being said, men shift their focus to the way you carry yourself, the decisions you make, and whether or not you actually follow through on what you said you believe in. That's why actions are the real language men listen to. Imagine you tell a man that honesty is non-negotiable for you, but then he gives you half-truths or excuses and you let it slide. From that moment, he knows that your words don't match your actions. He might not argue with you about it. He might not even bring it up. But in his mind, he's already made a note that honesty is not as important to you as you said it was. On the other hand, if you call it out, when you sense dishonesty, if you stand firm in your truth, your actions reinforce your words, and that alignment commands respect. Or maybe you say you're not interested in a casual relationship. You're looking for something serious, but then you allow him to treat you casually, seeing you when it's convenient, not making effort, giving you breadcrumbs instead of consistency. Even if you repeat over and over that you want commitment, your actions are saying something else. What men know is that people don't always lie by what they claim, but they always lie by what they allow. And the moment your actions allow something different than what you spoke, he believes the actions. This is why some women feel frustrated when a man doesn't treat them the way they hoped, because in their mind, they made their expectations clear through words. They think, but I told him what I wanted. The problem isn't in what was said, it's in what was permitted. Men watch permissions more than proclamations. If you permit disrespect, lateness, dishonesty, inconsistency, or lack of effort, then regardless of what you said you wanted, you've shown him what you'll accept. Actions always speak louder. Men also apply this principle to themselves. When a man is interested in you, his actions will tell you long before his words do. If he says he's serious but never makes time for you, that's a contradiction. If he says you're important but you're never a priority, that's a contradiction. When a man wants you in his life, you'll know it not because of what he says, but because of what he consistently does. He'll show up, he'll call, he'll make room in his life for you. He'll make sacrifices. A man's actions are his truth, and he expects you to interpret them as such the same way he interprets yours. The real power of actions is that they reveal patterns. Words can change depending on mood, situation, or convenience, but actions reveal habits, and habits reveal character. That's what men are watching. They're not just observing whether you said no once or stood up for yourself in one situation. They're watching if it's consistent over time, because consistency shows that your values are not situational, they are part of who you are. That's what builds trust, because a man knows what to expect from you, and he respects that stability. This is also why mixed signals become dangerous in relationships. When your words tell one story and your actions tell another, men will always believe the actions. If you say you don't want to be rushed, but then you accept rushed behavior, if you say you won't settle, but then you settle, if you say you're independent, but then you rely completely on him without balance, he doesn't hold on to your words. He locks in on what your actions are teaching him, and he moves forward based on that. Men also understand something that many people overlook. Actions are the reflection of self-respect. A woman who respects herself acts in ways that reinforce her value. She says no when something doesn't align. She walks away from what doesn't serve her. She maintains standards even when it's tempting to lower them. That behavior is what a man respects. Even if he complains, even if he tests it, even if he pushes against it, he cannot ignore it. Actions of self-respect command his respect in return. There is a quiet accountability that men practice when it comes to actions. They may not verbalize every observation, but they internalize it. A man may not tell you, you said one thing but did another, yet the disconnect registers with him and it shapes his behavior toward you. If you're consistent, if you align your words with your actions, his investment grows. If you're inconsistent, if your actions contradict your words, his investment decreases. It's as simple as that. At the end of the day, The way men view relationships is built on proof, not promises. Proof comes from action. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you respond under pressure, the way you uphold what you said you believe in when it's not easy. Men may enjoy words, but they trust actions. And once they see that your actions reflect integrity, strength, and self-respect, they don't forget it. They value it. They respect it. And they treat you according to the standard you live by, not the one you only talk about. When a man decides how seriously to take a woman, one of the first quiet judgments he makes is whether she belongs in the category of temporary or forever. This decision is rarely spoken out loud, but it shapes the entire direction of the relationship. The way a woman handles herself in those early moments, the standards she sets, the boundaries she keeps, and the consistency she shows all become signals to him. If those signals suggest she's easy to access, quick to bend, or not firm on what she wants, she is often placed in the temporary category without even realizing it. And once a man has made that decision, it is incredibly difficult to shift his perspective later. He may still enjoy time with her, he may still keep her around, but in his mind, she has already been filed away as someone who is not meant for the long term. The temporary category is where men put women who bring excitement but not challenge, women who entertain but don't demand, women who give without requiring anything back. These are the women who get phone calls at convenient times but never receive real consistency. They get the attention when it fits his schedule, but not the investment when it matters most. A man may even enjoy spending time with a woman in this category, but he does not see her as someone to build a life with. To him, she is part of the present, not the future. On the other hand, when a woman holds firm to her standards, when she shows through action that she will not accept less than what she deserves, she moves into the forever category in his mind. This is where respect lives, where commitment begins to take shape. A man views her differently because she has proven herself not to be like everyone else. He knows he cannot treat her casually and expect her to stay. He knows he cannot give her half effort and still keep her attention. He knows she values herself enough to walk away if he doesn't step up. And that knowledge forces him to decide whether he's truly serious. What many women don't realize is that men make this distinction very quickly. It doesn't take years. It often doesn't even take months. In the first several interactions, a man is already gathering information. He's not just listening to what you say, he's watching what you do. He's noticing whether your actions line up with your words. He's paying attention to how you respond when he tests the boundaries. And from those moments, he silently decides which category you belong in. The reason failing the test puts you in the temporary category is because men respect difficulty. They respect challenge. They respect what doesn't come easily. If everything is given too quickly, if boundaries are bent too soon, there is no sense of accomplishment in winning you. And if there is no accomplishment, there is no reason for him to invest long term. Men commit to what they respect, not what they can get without effort. That's why the category of forever is reserved for the women who don't fold under pressure, who don't confuse attention with commitment, who don't exchange their standards for a moment of temporary validation. The temporary category is not always about physical access. It extends to emotional availability, consistency, and even vision for the future. A woman who allows herself to be treated casually, who accepts minimal effort, who lets a man come and go as he pleases without accountability, is often placed in that space. She may believe she's building something real because he's still around, but the truth is he's only around because it's convenient. She's in his present, but not in his plans. The forever category, on the other hand, is for the woman who demands to be treated with consistency, who doesn't accept half-truths or broken promises, who expects clarity about intentions. A man may hesitate at first, he may even resist, but ultimately, he knows that a woman who requires effort is a woman worth keeping. The painful reality is that once you're placed in the temporary category, it's almost impossible to move to the forever one. Men don't often upgrade their perception. If they've seen that you'll accept less, they remember it. If they've watched you bend your rules for them, they store that memory. And no matter how much you try later to change the dynamic, the impression has already been made. This is why it's so important to set the tone from the beginning. From the very start, you are teaching a man how to treat you, and he is deciding how much respect to give you. Women sometimes underestimate how much men notice. They think certain compromises go unseen, but men are always observing that late night text you answered after saying you wouldn't, that date you accepted at the last minute after asking for consistency, that time you said you were done but came back anyway. He saw it. He might not bring it up, but it registered. Each time it happens, the scales tip further toward the temporary category. And the more it happens, the harder it is for him to ever see you as anything else. On the other side, When you stay firm in your standards, when you keep your boundaries intact, no matter how much pressure he applies, he begins to see you differently. He may even test you harder just to see if you're consistent, but every time you hold strong, he gains more respect. That respect builds slowly, but it becomes unshakable. And it's in that respect that the forever category is born. Because forever is not about beauty, fun, or charm, it's about trust. A man has to trust that you won't fold when it matters, that you'll be the same woman tomorrow as you are today, that your value doesn't fluctuate with convenience. The quiet truth men don't always say out loud is that the categories are real. They don't tell you which one you're in, but their behavior reveals it. If you're in the temporary one, you'll feel the inconsistency, you'll sense the lack of clarity, you'll notice the absence of real effort. If you're in the forever one, you'll feel the pursuit, you'll see the sacrifices, you'll witness the consistency. And the difference between the two almost always comes down to whether you passed or failed the test he gave you without words. The word no is one of the most powerful tools a woman has, and yet it is one of the most underused when it comes to relationships. So many women avoid saying no because they fear it will drive a man away, when in reality it is the very thing that protects their worth and sets their standard. No is not a rejection of you. It is a declaration of you. It is the line that says, this is what I stand for, this is what I deserve, this is who I am. Men recognize it instantly. They may push against it, they may try to persuade, they may test to see if it's real, but once they see it's firm, they respect it. Respect doesn't come from saying yes to everything. It comes from being unafraid to say no when it matters. Saying no creates clarity. It removes confusion about what you will and won't accept. It tells a man that your standards are not negotiable. Too often women think that by agreeing to what a man wants, they are making themselves more valuable to him. In truth, the opposite happens. Every time you say yes to something that goes against what you believe in, you teach him that your boundaries are flexible, that your words don't carry weight, that he can get what he wants without rising to your level. Over time, he stops respecting your words altogether because he has learned that they can be bent. The moment you say no and stick to it, you send the signal that your values are real and that being with you requires effort. Saying no also protects your worth. Worth is not just how you see yourself, it's how you allow others to treat you. If you allow someone to disregard your needs, you are showing that your value is up for negotiation. If you allow a man to take from you without giving in return, you are showing him that your time, energy, and presence can be bought cheaply. But when you say no, when you refuse to compromise what matters most, you protect your value by showing that it cannot be taken lightly. Men may not say it out loud, but they measure a woman's worth by how firmly she protects it herself. Think about the times when saying yes feels easier. A late night call you answer, even though you said you wanted daytime respect. A second chance you give, even though you knew the first mistake wasn't an accident. A compromise you make on something you swore you wouldn't allow. Each of those moments feels small in isolation, but they add up to a pattern. And that pattern teaches a man that your no is negotiable. Once he believes that, the respect begins to fade. On the other hand, when you stay consistent in saying no to what doesn't align with your standards, you create a pattern of strength. That strength is what earns his trust and his respect. No also sets the standard for how people handle you. Men pay attention to what you tolerate. They notice whether you hold yourself accountable to the words you speak. If you say one thing and do another, they note it. If you declare your standards but fold when tested, they note it. If you hold your ground and back up your words with action, they note that too. Saying no makes you predictable in the best way. Yes. It shows him that your character is steady, that you can be trusted, and that you value yourself enough to expect others to value you the same way. A lot of women fear that saying no will end the relationship. But here's the truth. The wrong man will leave no matter what, and the right man will stay regardless. If your no causes him to walk away, then your no just saved you time, energy, and heartbreak. It revealed that he wasn't serious, that he was only there for what was easy. If your no makes him slow down, reevaluate, and step up, then you just prove that he was willing to rise to the standard. Either way, no brings clarity to who you're really dealing with. Saying no is also a form of self-love. It requires courage to put your own well-being above temporary attention. It requires strength to risk losing someone in order to stay true to yourself. But that's what self-respect looks like in action. It's not about pleasing others, it's about protecting your own peace, dignity, and future. Men can sense when a woman respects herself, and that sense shifts everything. A man may desire many women, but he commits to the one he respects. And respect is born from boundaries, not from endless agreement. The ability to say no is not just about the relationship with him, it's about the relationship with yourself. Every time you say no to something that violates your standard, you are saying yes to your own value. You are affirming that you are worthy of more than half effort and empty words. You are reminding yourself that your future matters more than temporary comfort. And that internal affirmation is powerful because when you truly believe in your own worth, others have no choice but to believe it too. Men know that no is the word that separates temporary from permanent, casual from serious, fun from future. A man who cannot handle your no is not prepared to handle your yes in the long term. A man who argues with your boundaries is showing you that he doesn't value them. A man who adjusts to your no, who respects it, who accepts it, even when it's not what he wanted, is showing you that he values not just your presence, but your principles. That's the difference between a man who passes through your life and a man who builds with you. So many women believe they have to choose between keeping a man and keeping their standards, but the truth is that the right man is only revealed through your standards. Saying yes to everything may hold his attention for a moment, but it's the no that makes him stay for a lifetime. It's the no that sets the bar. It's the no that tells him who you are and what you deserve. And when you embrace the power of no, you stop being afraid of losing someone who was never meant for you and start protecting the version of you that the right man will never want to lose. Men don't make lifelong commitments based on who excites them the most, who makes them laugh the hardest, or even who they are the most physically attracted to. Those things are nice. They grab attention, they make the connection feel alive, but they aren't what makes a man settle down. Men marry the women and they respect. Respect is the foundation of every lasting relationship, and without it, nothing else truly holds. Desire fades, charm gets old, beauty changes, but respect remains the glue that keeps a man invested. When a man respects a woman, he thinks differently about her. He handles her differently, he prioritizes her differently. She is no longer someone who's just passing through his life. She becomes someone he cannot imagine living without. Respect is earned through consistency, boundaries, and self-value. A man doesn't give his full commitment to someone he sees as temporary, and the way he determines who is temporary is by watching how she carries herself. A woman who demands respect through her actions, who refuses to lower her standards for quick attention, who proves that her words and actions align, is the woman who shifts from a passing thought into a permanent priority. A man may desire many women, but he respects very few. And from those few, he chooses the one he cannot afford to lose. The truth is that men are careful with commitment. They don't tie themselves to someone unless they see long-term stability. That stability doesn't come from excitement or attraction alone. It comes from the assurance that this woman values herself enough to demand respect. When a man knows that his partner will hold him accountable, when he knows she won't tolerate disrespect, when he knows she has the strength to walk away rather than settle for less, that's when he realizes he can trust her with his life, his heart, and his future. Commitment is not about convenience, it's about confidence. And confidence is born when a man respects the woman beside him. Respect is not gained by giving everything away easily. It's not built by constant agreement, endless sacrifice, or pleasing at every turn. In fact, those things often breed the opposite because they show him there are no boundaries to cross, no standards to meet, no effort required. Men respect what requires them to grow. They respect what challenges them to do better. They respect what doesn't allow them to remain average. A woman who shows through her strength that she expects more automatically commands respect. A man may not always enjoy being challenged, but deep down he values it because it proves she is not someone he can take lightly. When a man respects a woman, he invests differently. He shows up consistently. He doesn't risk losing her because he knows her worth. Respect is the difference between a man who lingers casually and one who makes a decision to commit fully. You can be beautiful, fun, and desirable, but without respect, he won't build his future around you. With respect, even if you aren't the most glamorous person in the room, you become irreplaceable to him. Respect is the quality that shifts you from an option to the choice. The women who struggle most in relationships often confuse desire with respect. A man can desire you deeply without respecting you, and that is why some women give years of their life to a man who never intended to stay. They thought passion meant permanence, when in reality, passion without respect burns out quickly. The test isn't whether a man desires you. The test is whether he respects you enough to align his actions with his words, to honor your boundaries, and to build something that lasts. That respect is what transforms temporary attention into lifelong commitment. Respect also sets the tone for how conflict is handled. A man who respects his partner won't belittle her when disagreements happen. He won't ignore her feelings. He won't dismiss her words. He may not always agree, but he listens, he adjusts, he grows. Without respect, arguments turn into power struggles. With respect, arguments become opportunities for growth. That's why respect is more powerful than love alone. Love without respect can become toxic, but respect always strengthens love. Men are not complicated when it comes to commitment. They simply choose the path of respect. The woman who carries herself with dignity, who protects her value with boundaries, who stands firm, even when pressured, becomes the one he sees as worthy of forever. The right man isn't looking for the easiest woman, he's looking for the one he can respect. Because once a man respects you, his loyalty follows. His investment deepens, his commitment solidifies. And when respect is present, everything else, desire, passion, fun, love, falls into place naturally. The women who are most cherished by their partners are not always the ones who gave the most or sacrificed the most, but the ones who demanded respect from the very beginning and never let go of it. They didn't compromise their values just to keep someone around. They didn't confuse attention with devotion. They didn't believe that saying yes to everything was the way to secure love. Instead, they lived their standards, they honored their no, and they carried themselves with strength. That's what men remember. That's what men value. That's what men commit to for a lifetime. When respect is the foundation, everything else stands stronger. A man doesn't build with someone he doesn't respect. He may play, he may linger, he may enjoy the moment, but he won't invest deeply. Respect is what makes him see a woman as irreplaceable. It's what makes him proud to stand beside her. It's what makes him willing to do the hard work to keep the relationship alive. And that's why, above all else, men marry the women they respect.